All right, so I found the trick to Archazia Island. I think that Archazia Island is like this kind of new Beaumont, Oklahoma, except instead of no dancing, no singing allowed. And I'm going to show you why. But Illumineers, what's going on? Welcome back to the Madhouse. And we don't have as many reveals today, but we have some really good ones to look at. Really quick before we get started, a couple things. Make sure you go to the giveaway page. Like I said, I think there's like 5 or 6 items that we're giving away. So get your name in the bucket. You guys deserve it. I owe you guys so much. So thank you very much. Big shout out to Mushu Report for being able to put all this together because their website is just awesome and getting all the cards into one place. And don't forget to check out this Safari Zone Collectibles 1K. It's the first 1K in Delaware that I'm helping Angel put together. Safari Zone Collectibles. I'm putting in some of my own stuff for prize support that we haven't let the world know yet, but is a guaranteed 1K prize support. With that being said, let's jump into the new the new stuff. So, with that being said, we have This Is My Family, and This Is My Family is a 2-cost uninkable. It is gain 1 lore and draw a card. What's cool about this, though, it is a song. So, when I look at this card, for me, this replaces Gathering Knowledge, and it's tough though. That draw card is huge. Gathering Knowledge, being able to potentially gain you 8 lore if you see all 4 is really strong, whereas this is only gaining you 4. And the difference between that 1 lore, we've all been there. We've all seen how many times we've lost at 18 or 19. And so that difference of 1 lore across those cards does make a huge difference. But the ability to draw a card is really powerful. The fact that it's a song, I don't know how much that matters. But at the same time, if you're in an early turn, you have a character that's only questing for 1, then you can use it to sing and draw a card and possibly get something that's questing for 2 or questing for 3. Maybe you get a rose, things like that. So I do like that, and I'm interested to see if this just flat out replaces Gathering Knowledge. Off the top of my head, I don't know yet. It's uninkable, so I don't think you can fit it in with Gathering Knowledge. At that point, if you're running a hyper aggro purple yellow, you're running into a lot of uninkables. You've got your Lilos, you've got your Daisies, you've got Gathering Knowledge, you've got this. So it's just getting really, really tight. But maybe yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 3. Like, it's a cantrip. The only thing that I could see running it would be something like hyper aggro. So I don't know yet. I'm gonna give it a 3 though because I think it can see play. I do like the idea of the card being that it gains you lore and draws a card, and it's a song. So just a lot of opportunities there. So we'll go with a 3 for our first card. Next up on our list, Gantu, the experienced enforcer. He's a 2/4/1, 4-cost uninkable. He is an ally, an alien, and a captain, which is important. Close all channels. When you play this character, characters can't exert to sing songs until the start of your next turn, and then don't get any ideas. Each player pays 2 more ink to play actions or items. This doesn't apply to singing songs. Oh, this is one of the people in Beaumont that doesn't like singing or doesn't like dancing, right? Gantu is incredibly annoying. This card, thank goodness he's uninkable because if he wasn't, he would just be thrown in with everything and we'd have 8 Pete's on our hand. Now, one thing to note with Gantu is there is sequencing with this card. Pete, you can just play whenever and then still sing a song. Gantu, though, when you play this character, characters can't exert to sing songs. So that means your characters can't exert to sing songs. So that means that you need to sing your song first and then play Gantu. If you do it the other way around, you don't get to sing your song. So keep in mind the sequencing here. That might be something that people do misplay. And then don't get any ideas. Each player pays 2 more to play actions or items. So if you're going first and you play this on turn 4, and your opponent, red blue, is going into their turn 4, they're probably going into 5 ink. Um, they can't do any more digging that turn, really. If they want to dig with visions, then that's their entire turn almost. That's 4 ink to play visions. It's 3 ink to play develop your brain. It's 3 ink to play a popsicle. So this is an extremely annoying card. It's not as good as Pete, and because Pete is inkable, so that's really big. But this does come with the captain line, so it protects your Smees, which is something to note. If you're, that's really important right there. It stops singing until the start of your next turn, just like Pete. But the item piece and the action piece is just really big. I this isn't a card that you'll run four of. Like, I don't think you can. I think you can only run two or three. The only deck that I see really running this is Purple Steel. I could see Steel Song trying to tech this in, especially maybe in the aggro line. But even then, in the aggro line, they're trying to do a lot with that 4 ink, get more characters down, Doc and Smee in the same turn. I think it's too full for Green Steel to play more uninkables. The same with Steel Song. If you're gonna run this in Steel Song, then you need to be expecting a really heavy Steel Song meta, and you need to be comfortable with playing a lot of uninkables. So kind of going back to set four when we played flutes and we played around with 19 uninkables at that point. So I'm gonna give Gantu a four. I'm gonna give him a four. He would be, if he was inkable, he'd be a five, a 6 out of 5. He would be an extremely annoying and broken card for steel or for purple steel. But I think Gantu in purple steel, you just run two of these, and now you have 6 Peats plus your bounces, and you can just shut down your opponent like nobody's business, and that is disgusting. In the Rabbit Zeus version of Purple Steel, this card is going to be disgusting because you play Pete on 3 to deny a Steel Song player doing anything, to deny Red Blue doing anything, and then turn 4 you play Gantu, and then turn 5 you can sing Zeus. Like, it's really really good for Purple Steel. It's just that uninkable count is what you have to be worried about. So it probably replaces Genie, I would think, in the more slower version. Maybe you go, if you really want 4 genies and 4 rabbits, you go 2 genie, 2 Gantu. Or if you're already running 4 genies, maybe you just go 4 Gantu and just go really heavy on denying your opponent doing anything. And that is a really positive turn as well. But moving on, Gantu a 4. I'm happy to see Gantu seeing more good cards as well and cool artwork as well. So moving on. We have Restoring Atlantis. Your characters can't be challenged until the start of your next turn. It is a 5 cost uninkable action. Love the artwork here. Really nice. Interesting card. Your characters can't be challenged until the start of your next turn. I don't know what's playing this. Blue Steel could play this. They have the ink to be able to play something like this. Steel Song will never play it. Purple Steel will never play it. Green Steel never going to play it. Yeah, so the only deck that could play it would be Blue Steel. And I don't think it's worth the uninkable space. You have Fishbone Quill, which helps with that, but I'm trying to think of Blue Steel, and there's just not. I mean, you could play this in Quest with Ariel in the same turn, so that's really neat, but I just think it's too cute. And when I mentioned it yesterday, if I have to describe a card as cute, it's not generally a good thing. So I'm gonna give Restoring Atlantis a 2. I just think that it's too slow. If it was inkable, it could have some more opportunities because you could just ink it into when you don't need it, and if you get it early, you can just ink it. But your characters can't be challenged to the start of your next turn. Just doesn't do it for me. This might be really impactful if Red Steel just really pops off this set, but again, there's really only one deck that can actually utilize this, in my opinion, that being Blue Steel. So yeah, I'm gonna give Restoring Atlantis a 2 today. Moving on, we've got Mirabel Madrigal. Fantastic artwork, but she's a 1/3/1, 3 cost inkable and evasive and singer 5, and she is Amber Amethyst. Um, Unfortunate, right? And why I say that is I do not know of any amber or amethyst cards that need a singer 5. The only thing that comes to mind is their sing together songs. So I think there's the Peter Pan one with the clock tower, I believe. Second star to the right, where you can draw 5 cards. There's um look at this family, I think it's called, where you can draw cards with that. So they're sing together songs. So there is that, and maybe that kind of goes with the story of Madrigal. They're a family. You get them all singing together, and so there's that. So that could be something. I just maybe right? Why not? It's more tribal stuff. I love seeing tribal stuff. I think that if we could see an effective tribal deck, I would love that. I think tribal is the one of the most fun things to do, and that's why I like things like Queen Sensor Core, King Sensor Core, Dalmatians. Like I think it's really neat, and Disney really allows us to have those opportunities. So I'm gonna give Maribel Madrigal. I think she's a 2, but I want to give her a 3. And so I think she's a 2. If not, yeah, I think she's a 2, but I'm going to give her a 3. This would be like a 2.5 or a 3. This is an optimistic bias 3 of wanting tribal to work, is what this is. And because she's removed by absolutely everything in the game. Yeah, she's removed by absolutely everything in the game. There's no great songs right now to be sung. Even you'd have to get 2 of these down to be able to sing the one that draws you 5 cards because I believe it's a singer 10. Um, I don't know, but I also haven't looked at the Madrigal cards in a long time, so I don't know. Maybe one of them have a busted effect where this actually is going to be really good, or maybe we're going to see something that's really good. So yeah, for now, we'll give it a very optimistic, very biased 3. And that's that. We'll leave it there. So, moving on, we have Queen of Hearts. She is a 2/6/2, 5 cost uninkable. This is very unique artwork, very different than what we've seen this set, but she's a villain and a queen. She's a shift 3, and if I lose my temper, whenever another character is played, put a damage counter on them. And this is really interesting because I just got done the last 2 days talking about cards that do not, like, they have to have damage counters on the opponent's characters to have any effect. And now you have Queen of Hearts that is putting damage counters on things. So now all of a sudden, there's a lot of different things that can happen. Queen of Hearts can be ran in a Gaston deck. The Gaston being cheaper for things with damage on them. And one thing to keep in mind is whenever another character is played. So this is also your characters. So be careful. Don't play Queen of Hearts and then be like, here's my cursed merfolk. No, your cursed merfolk will be banished. So this is all characters. And being all characters is actually extremely impactful because we have a lot of these things that require damage counters on them. Now we have the Fling Dream coming back alive. I mentioned the Goodest Boy yesterday when I was talking about Fling damage, and here we go again. This is more Fling damage that could possibly make things work. We saw, well, you can't run this with purple, so it doesn't work with one of the cards we revealed yesterday. But this just allows a lot of different things to happen, and I like it. I like that this card single handedly allows interactions with things that we haven't been able to make interactions with. It's just been really difficult. And it is a shift 3, so that's good. Coming down on turn 5. I when I see a shift 3, a 5 cost shift 3, I immediately always think of songs. What songs can it cast? And nothing comes to mind off the top of my head. Be King Undisputed is a pretty good one. That's a 4 cost, but that's also another uninkable. But with that being said, green and red aren't colors that I've played with a whole lot in the past. One issue with her is her uninkables, or not the uninkable, well, uninkable, but her shift targets. Her really only good shift target is the 2-drop inkable Queen of Hearts, but typically you play that card because it has Rush. With that being said, maybe it's not a bad card to play because we see it teched into a lot of different decks already. But maybe now you run it, and if you have to rush into something, you have the opportunity. So it makes that card better in the late game. And so that's really impactful. And then it's still a good shift target. So I'm gonna give Queen of Hearts a 3. I don't think she's quite good enough to be anything higher than a 3 because, like, as much as everybody hates it, she does die to Brawl. She's very easy to Ice Block Sizu. She is uninkable. So there's a lot of negative things, but she allows for that damage ping interaction going on with all the different Robin Hoods, for the Gastons, for all the other cards that we're seeing that say move damage or do like and do get this effect. So I do like this card, and she allows, like, this is the card that you put in those decks to make those things happen. So we're going with a 3 for Queen of Hearts. Next up, we have another Diablo, because why not give our favorite bird more shift targets? This is Diablo's Spiteful Raven. He is an Amethyst Emerald dual color, and he is a 1/2/1 2-cost inkable with Evasive and Challenger +2. Again, Evasive, only characters with Evasive can challenge this character, and Challenger means that while challenging this character, gets +2 attack. I think it's a 2. Like, it's an green purple on turn 2. You're playing Ursula 2-drop or you're playing 1-drops. There's really no need to play this. I don't see a need to play this. It's cool that it has Challenger +2, but green purple's not notorious for doing a lot of challenging, right? If they want to challenge, then they're challenging with Crab and they're challenging with Fox, and like, those are coming down on turn 3 as well, and the soonest this can challenge is, well, turn 3. So I'm never going to cut my Crabs or my Foxes to play Diablo. I'll never cut my Ursulas to play Diablo. I just don't see why green purple would want to run this, and I just think it slows them down because green purple just doesn't do a lot of challenging either. So they're just a very disruptive deck that quests surprisingly a lot and gets to victory. So I'm giving Diablo a 2, and I could see him being a 1, but he is a Diablo shift target, so that is notable as well, because now, well, now you could run baby Diablo and this Diablo. Well, even then, he's probably a 1, but we'll give him a 2. So we'll give him a 2 when he probably should be a 1. But moving on from Diablo, we have Orville, and he is Albatross Air and a 4/3/1 3-cost inkable. Welcome aboard, folks. During your turn, while you have a character named Miss Bianca or Bernard in play, this character gains Evasive. All right. So 4/3/1 with Evasive for steal. It does answer Genie on turn 3, but you have to have Miss Bianca or Bernard in play. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I've ever seen someone play either one of those cards before. And I don't think that a 4/1 or a 4/3 with Evasive is going to make those cards playable. When I think about Miss Bianca, the only card that comes to mind is the Singer 4. I believe she's a 2/2. And so she kind of is replaced by Ursula anymore. And Bernard, I can picture the card, but I cannot see or remember what he does. So unfortunately, he is an ally. So again, we're going to start seeing some ally synergies, but a 4/3/1 that requires other cards to have its effect, I don't see it. I don't because those two cards are just bad. Because even if you run, I would never run this in Steel Song. Like, I just don't need it. I'm gonna give Orville a. Is he a 2? That's the question. Is he a 2? 3-cost, 4/3/1. What else am I playing on that turn? Pete, I think he's a 2. Because I look at him as a 4/3/1 because Miss Bianca and Bernard just, but I cannot remember what Bernard does. So there is that. So maybe I'm just missing something and they're like, "Oh, Bernard's playable now and this is going to be crazy." But I don't think so. And so I'm going to give Orville a 2 and move on. Next up, we have Miss Bianca, the unwavering agent. So, speaking of Bianca's, right? She's a 5/5/1 and a 6 cost inkable. Have a little faith. If you have an ally character in play, you pay 2 less to play this character. So that's something. Because you play Orville on 3, and then you play Miss Bianca on 4, and because she becomes a 4, so you play a 4 cost 5/5 that quests for 1, and you also give Orville evasive. So there's some good synergy. Now the problem is well, if you have an ally character in play, so the odds are if you're playing this card, you're going to have quite a few allies. Orville will not be your only ally. So there's that. Miss Bianca is a hero, all right. So that is something to note. But um, this synergy is a lot easier to make happen in my opinion because it's just have an ally character in play and we're seeing a lot of ally characters, so I this 2 less can happen fairly often. Now if we look at 5/5 characters on turn 4, we can there's things like the duck, right, that comes down on turn 4 and it's uninkable. Though there is the duck, there's a lot of shift targets that come down on turn 3 that, well, not a lot. So I'm gonna I'm gonna give Miss Bianca a 4. I am. And a lot of people may really disagree with this, and that's okay because most of you disagree with most of my ratings. So, but I'm gonna give her a 4, and here's why. I think that her effect is a lot easier to get off than most. So she's going to come down for 4 often. She is inkable, so that's something, and that is actually a really big something. And so she comes down on 4. She's still a 6 cost. So that means on turn 4, on going on turn 5, you can use her to start singing cards, which is impactful. Sing a whole new world, sing wheel if you want to. But on turn 4, you get a 4/4. Maybe, I think, we're no, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna stick to a 4. I think 3.5 is probably more appealing, but we'll say 4, and only because she's not doing anything until turn 5, and that's a little rough. But I think it's kind of like a 5/5 vanilla on turn. We'll stick with a 4. I'm way off on this one. It No, we'll be real. I think it's a 3. Unfortunately, I think it's a 3. It's just a 5/5 that comes out on 4 most of the time. But I do like this card. I do think that this is a good card, but we will be real with ourselves. We'll call it a 3 and move on. Next up, we have Merlin, the clever clairvoyant, and he is a 0/1/1. He is a 1 cost inkable dual ink for Blurple, so Amethyst and Sapphire. So whenever this character quests, name a card, then reveal the top card of your deck. If it's the named card, put it into your inkwell face down and exerted. Otherwise, put it on top of your deck. How disappointing. um so first off, seeing Merlin, this is really cool. Okay, we have a Merlin shift target now for Blurple that is effective. No, unfortunately we do not. I This is a 1 for me, unfortunately. Like, as much as I don't want it to be, this is a 1 for me. And the reason for this is that I don't want to be naming cards and then putting them on my inkwell before I even know what it is. Maybe even if I'm playing a broom deck and I run this in a broom deck, I don't want to name a broom and then move it to the bottom of my deck. And like that, because maybe I need that broom, right? So, what an awful mechanic to be like, name this card. Oh, and by the way, I hope you don't want it because you lose it. And you don't get to, it's not a may option. Otherwise, put it on top of your deck. If it's the name card, put it into your inkwell face down and exerted. There's no may. You will do this. So now you can ignore it by not questing, but then you just have this card that's doing absolutely nothing. I think this is just an awful, the worst card we've seen this set, unfortunately, because I really want to see a Merlin shift target for the Merlin card that when you shift it, you get to search your deck for any, I think it's any cards you want. So, and I could be wrong, it might be any action or song, but I think it's any card. And this is really disappointing. This is really disheartening to see this. But yeah, it's a 1 for me. Yeah. Yep, it's a 1. Moving on. All right, we have Mufasa. He's pretty simple. He's a 4/4/1 4 cost inkable. He is a mentor and a king. He's just a vanilla Mufasa. One thing to note with this card is he is a decent, okay-ish shift target for the Mufasa we revealed on day 1, I think. He's the one that has evasive and another effect that I can't think of off the top of my head, but that I thought was pretty neat. I think he was a 5/7. So I thought he was pretty neat, and this Mufasa is not an awful shift target for him. We'd prefer he have some sort of good effect. Turn 4 is typically like a goat turn, or a 3-1, or double 2, like double Smee. So I'm going to give Mufasa. Oh, I hate rating cards between 2s and 3s. I think they're the hardest ones to rate. But I'm gonna give Mufasa a 2. I'm gonna give Mufasa a 2. He's he's vanilla, right? And how well can we rate a vanilla card? How often do we actually see vanilla cards see play? And one of the only vanilla cards that I can think of that does see play is the 5/5 duck. And this is not a 5/5. The only reason he would see any plays if you really wanted to play the shift target Mufasa. Otherwise, you just don't. You'd rather play a goat every single day of the week. So if it wasn't for the shift target Mufasa that we've already seen, this would be a 1. But you might want to run the shift target Mufasa, and this enables that. So we're going to go with a 2. Moving on, we have Koda. He is a 2/2/3 3-cost inkable and an ally. We have a vanilla card here, but he quests for 3, and that's pretty awesome. He's from Brother Bear, so that just automatically makes it better than most any other vanilla card. But on turn 3, if I'm playing a hyper aggro deck, I can already play these quest for 3 cards on turn 2, I believe. I think the Pinocchio and some of those other quests for 3s are on turn 2. So now I'm playing this on turn 3, that quests for 3, but it is inkable. So there's that. So maybe you can clear up some of your uninkables to run the new one from the very beginning that lets you gain 1 lore and draw a card. I'm going to give Koda a 3 for the hyper aggro decks. And the reason for that is because of what I just said. You could cut, if you run a hyper aggro list that does run the Pinocchios, you can now cut some different things to run this and maybe run the run gathering knowledge and gain 1 lore, draw card, the card we revealed in the beginning. So I could see this seeing some play. Unfortunately, being a 2/2 just really hurts. If it was a 3/2, this would be 100% playable. And maybe that's why it's not, because that'd be too good for a card that quests for 3. But I'm gonna give it a 3, and because I want to see hyper aggro do well. I've always liked hyper aggro. I think it's just a lot of fun winning by turn 4. So yeah, we'll give it a 3. We'll give Koda a 3 with his salmon, and we will move on. What are those, sockeye maybe? Anyways, all right. We've got Candlehead. She's a 2-cost inkable, 2/2/1, and she's the dedicated racer. She's a Dreamborn ally racer, and winning isn't everything. When this character is banished, you may remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. Interesting. It's another racer, another ally. It has more synergy for tribal. You may remove 2 damage from chosen character. I have not paid much attention to the racers. Some of my friends have played around with the racers and had good luck with them, but I have not paid them much attention, so I do not know if there's any cards that benefit from removing 2 damage other than the fact that they no longer have 2 damage on them. But it is a 2 cost card. It unfortunately is a 2/2, and that's a stat line we see on most 1/1 or 1 cost songs. So seeing a 2/2 on turn 2 is rough. I'll quit saying that, but um I'm gonna give Candlehead a 2. That's a lot of twos. That is a crap load of twos. But I just don't see the reason yet. And maybe that is, again, I just haven't paid enough attention to the racers. And somewhere out there, like my buddy Andrew, he is super excited for this card because he really likes his racer location deck. So we are seeing more racer support though. We saw this, we saw Calhoun earlier on, still waiting for that shift target for it. But yeah, I'm gonna give Candlehead here a 2. Moving on, we have this card that I forgot to put the name of it. Yep, we have this card. So it's a 1 cost inkable action. Look at the top 4 cards of chosen player's deck. Put one of their put one of the top of the put one on the top of their deck and the rest on the bottom of their deck in any order. This card is really neat. It's disruption for blue, but it's also something that you could use on yourself in a pinch. Like because it's chosen player. So if you really want, this is a really good develop. The only issue is it is uninkable, but it lets you look at 4 cards, which is really really good. So the ability to look at 4, I mean, look at Visions. Vision lets you look at 5, and look how like some people talk about Visions being one of the best cards, if not the best card we saw last set. And this card is letting you look at 4 cards on turn 1. So that is really impactful. This is essentially a card that you could keep in your opening mulligan if you really wanted to be able to guarantee kind of a safety net as long as you have 1 inkable. So this is really sexy because playing this on turn 1 to dig for a sale, to dig for a tipo on turn 2, and the fact that you could play it on your opponent, like there's that as well. You could play this on your opponent if you really wanted to just know exactly what was coming next. So there's knowledge there. It is an action, so it works with Shark. Works with the new Ratigan if you decide to play that. I'm gonna give this a 4. I know it's uninkable. If it was inkable, this would be a 5. Like it would be incredibly broken if it was inkable. Uninkable makes it a little bit harder, but it does let you search for ramp, and blue decks above anything else really need ramp. Blue steel is the exception in the fact that sometimes they just really need to play a Smee or a Calhoun on turn 2 to control the board. But red blue, I think this would be pretty good for them. The ability to just search even harder for that ramp. I mean, look at DKP at the Melbourne DLC. How many times he mulliganed 7 cards because he needed to see ramp going into that. He needed to see ramp. He needed to see certain cards. Well, now this lets you, if you mulligan 7, if you mulligan 6, and then you have this, that's before you even get to your ramp turn, that's 10 new cards essentially, and that's strong. I really like this card. I'm gonna give it a 4 and be extremely happy that it is not an inkable card. Moving on, we have this guy. I cannot remember how to pronounce his name. We'll call him Kashekim because why not? He's a 4/3/1 3 cost inkable. He's vanilla. He is a king though, for whatever that's worth. If you played in purple steel, King Sensor Core, but he is a vanilla. He's only a 4/3/1. I can play Goat for that on turn 4, which is gaining me 2 lore. And on turn 3, I'm playing things like Rose, and that 4 doesn't mean a whole lot. It could challenge into Daisy on turn 4. That doesn't really matter because I can just challenge into Daisy on turn 3 with Crab and Fox. So I'm going to give this old man, unfortunately, a 1. I don't see it. Maybe there's a king interaction I'm missing, but just being a vanilla 4/3/1 in purple does not cut it. So unfortunately, this is a 1 for me. moving on. We have so much to give, and look at the artwork on this card. Ladies and gentlemen, but it is an action and a song. It is a 2-cost inkable. Draw a card. Chosen character gains bodyguard until the start of your next turn. So this is intriguing. This is really intriguing. It's like Fortisphere, but better. Well, depends on who you ask, but it's kind of like Fortisphere. Fortisphere giving bodyguard if you pay 1 ink and banish the card, I think. But this drawing you a card and giving a character bodyguard. And so there's a lot of things you can enable with this. Steel Song's kind of stuck not questing sometimes if they don't know what's coming going into certain turns. But now this really enables things like Rapunzel locks. You could play this to give your Rapunzel bodyguard. You could play this to give Robin Hood bodyguard if you really wanted to. So now your Robin Hood is kind of a pseudo Simba, because you could play this to give Robin Hood bodyguard while everything else quests to safety. I mean, if I'd had this the other day in my finals match that I just released a video on, I could have given Robin Hood bodyguard, and then my daisies would have quested without getting taken out by foxes. And there's that. So I would have gained like an extra 8 lore. So this is an interesting card. The problem is that typically a card like this fills a song place of leftover songs. If you look at so a lot of time it's World's Greatest Criminal Mind. We run our four strengths, our 4 Let's Storm Rage on, 4 wheels, and then 3 to 4 Zeuses, and then you fill the next 2 songs with World's Greatest Criminal Mind normally. The problem is that World's Greatest Criminal Mind is looking to be an A tier, S tier song going into the next set because of how many targets we're seeing for that card. So it's hard for me to look at this card and say that it's going to find a place. That being said, I'm going to give it a 3. It's 100% a 3. If I was to give halves, it'd be like a 3.5 out of 4. I really like what this giving bodyguard to one of your characters does for you. Like, I think that is really good. I think that is a very sexy mechanic to do, and it really messes up turns for your opponent, and it draws a card. So there's that as well. So this will 100% see playtest by a lot of different people, finding ways that they might be able to utilize it. So it's just really annoying. Really, really annoying. So I'm going to give it a very high 3. And beautiful artwork. Moving on. We have Monsieur. All right. He is a 1/1/1 cost inkable. I've come to collect. Whenever this character quests, you may banish chosen item of yours to draw a card. So I'm hoping that this is the beginning of banning No, they're not gonna ban Flaversham. Okay, stop it, people. But this is essentially a baby Flaversham. So a good card, you know. Unfortunately, they do have Flaversham, so Flaversham is really good. Flaversham's doing a lot and coming down typically on turn 3. So on turn 1, you're playing the Popsicle, which is the card you need to banish. And then on turn 2, if you're playing a Popsicle, then you're not ramping with Tipo. That being said, if you ramp with Sail, then you can play a Popsicle. You ramp, play Popsicle, you draw a card, and you draw another card with Monsieur. Interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting. When you have cards like Flaversham, I just don't see how this ever sees play. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe in Blue Steel, no wheel. This is another draw card, but Chicha might just do that just fine, and you don't really care about that. Again, on turn 2, sometimes your turn 2 is just spit. Like, a lot of times, Blue Steel really just needs cards that are going to challenge the board so they don't lose the game before they get to those really big turns they have. So, I don't know. I'm going to give it a 3. It does draw cards, which is really impactful. There are really strong swingy turns you can do by going turn 2 Sail into Popsicle and then quest with this to draw a card. So, that's really impressive. Well, here's the Disney trivia for today. What movie does this gentleman come from? It's actually, he's not popular character. So we'll see. But if you know, you're a beast. All right, you know your Disney trivia. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so funny. Moving on, we'll give Monsieur a 3, and I'm happy with that rating because of what he can do, and it's card draw. Card draw generally finds a way. So moving on, we have Mulan Imperial General. She's a 5/6/2, 7 cost inkable. She is a Floodborn hero and princess in Ruby Steel. So another dual ink. She's a shift 5 with evasive and exceptional leader. Whenever this character challenges another character, your other characters gain this character can't challenge ready characters this turn. So first, beautiful artwork, absolutely gorgeous. The foil on this is going to be breathtaking. It's a shift 5. Unfortunately, when we look at shift 5 Mulans, I look at the Mulan we already have. I believe she's a shift 5 at least, where when she gets plus attack, and then when she challenges a character, she can do additional damage to other characters equal to her attack. And how often does that see play? Not very often. That being said, this is evasive, so it does challenge genies very well because it's a 5/6, and this character can't challenge ready, or this character can challenge ready characters. So she breaks parity extremely well. Look how well just the steel Cinderella Stout-Hearted does at breaking parity. When you play this card and you sing a song, she gets to attack readied characters. But Exceptional Leader is letting all of your characters challenge ready characters. So if you play this in Ruby Steel, that is shaping up to be a pretty good deck, and all of your characters are gaining lore off of challenging characters, this just decimates your opponent, because now on turn 5 they have to know that this is coming and they have to be ready for it. Because imagine you have some Calhouns down, you have a card that we're going to reveal in a little bit down, and then you play this and all of a sudden you're now gaining 8, 10, 12 lore off of challenging their characters that they thought were safe. So I'm going to give Mulan Imperial General a 4, and I feel comfortable doing that. She's not quite a 5. She's still an expensive card to play. And the 5 cost position in this deck is starting to get really full with Beast and, well, another card we're going to see. But her effect to just break parity like this is massive. It's so big. It's such a big deal. And she is evasive. So that evasive, just again, shutting down genies is so imperative. And just shutting down invasive characters is so good. And being a 5/6 is a really good stat line as well. So I really like this card. And I'm going to give it a 4. I did just notice it's whenever this character challenges another character. So that is something to note. This isn't going to work until turn 6, all right? So you can't surprise them with this card. So that is a really big deal, and that, I wonder if that makes this a 3. We'll stick with 4. We'll stick with 4 for now because her effect is still really good. Yeah, it's probably a 3, but we'll stick with 4. All right, we'll stick with 4 and just be really excited to see this foil artwork. Moving on, we have Pete, the Space Pirate. He is a 5/5/2, a 6 cost inkable. He is a villain and a pirate, and he is a shift 4. He is a Emerald Steel dual ink and Frightful Scheme. While this character is exerted, chosen character can't exert to sing songs, and your pirate characters gain resist +1. So this is annoying. Again, while this character is exerted, opposing characters can't exert to sing songs. So now you can run this card in a green steel deck that runs Pete. We all know of one. And you can still sing songs, but your opponent cannot. And then you have all of your pirate characters gain resist +1. Honestly, the resist +1 doesn't mean much. Now, we are seeing green steel pirates be able to start popping their head up and do some things, because there is more than just the 3 cost Pete that you could shift this on. There's the 1 cost Pete that we revealed yesterday. It's a 5/5/2, so there's that. You could play it on turn 4 and sing Wheel, and then your opponent can't do anything, and then all your pirates gain resist +1. This is a pretty good card. I'm going to give Pete a 4 as well. I think that this will definitely find room into people's decks, and we're just we're seeing Steel's song really get pushed out. Uh, Now, this is only you can't exert, so Prince Naveen still counters this card really well. He still does a good job at being able to sing songs, so he can come down and sing Zeus. So maybe we'll see Steel's song playing more Naveen's now, but that feels bad because it's an uninkable. Um, but yeah, right now I'm looking at this card and I think I'm very happy with a 4 and I could be happy with a 5 as well. Pete Space Pirate is just he's a good card and being shift 4 allows for a lot of different things. So now you get a 5/5/4. He might be a 5. He's definitely a very high 4. Going on the verge of 5, but we'll stick with 4 for now. And this card is just really annoying. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, he's a 1. Do not play. No, we'll stick with 4 for now. But Pete, this is Green Steel. You got a really good card. Whether you're being a tempo deck or a discard deck, I think this can see play. It's a little bit harder in discard, but at the same time, if you're running this in a discard deck with Pete, I don't even know if they run Pete actually. Yeah, I really don't. Oh, wow. Anyways, but maybe they do now. Anyways, this we'll go with 4 on this and we'll move on. We have King Candy. He's a 4 cost uninkable 2/2/2. Whenever one of your other racer characters is banished, each character chooses and banishes one of their characters. So, he's a king and a racer. This is kind of like a little Be King Undisputed, but not well, yeah, interesting. It is like a Be King Undisputed because you can play this on turn 4 and then challenge one of your racers in it. Or, ooh, you can challenge multiple racers. Whenever one of your other characters is banished, each opponent chooses and banishes one of their characters. If you have 3 racers down when you play this card and they can all get banished, then yeah, now you can potentially make your opponent banish 3 cards. So that's really cool. That is really neat. That can something you have to expect now. It is uninkable, so that's rough. Her facial expression's a little rough, but she's just not happy. She's getting beat by King Candy here. I'm gonna give King Candy a 3. I could see a world where you slam him into a racer deck. There is a King Candy shift target, I believe. I don't remember what his shift is, but he is out there. He does quest for 2. Unfortunately, he is a 2/2, which is rough. They keep giving the stat line to racer cards, which is really weird. But yeah, I'm gonna give him a 3 because his effect is pretty neat. It's something that you'll have to respect and be prepared for. Otherwise, you might get a little pseudo be prepared coming your way. I'm on fire today. Moving on, we have Baymax's charging station. It is a item for Sapphire, 3 cost inkable energy converter. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, if you used Shift to play them, you may draw a card. So this is kind of cool. You play this early on. If you play the Baymax that we saw yesterday with Universal Shift, you get to draw a card with that. There's Clarabelle that you could run, another shift target. So I don't know if blue green needs a more card draw like this. I don't know if there's room. With that being said, it is a decent item for you just throw it in your deck, and then when you get Baymax, you can draw more cards off of it. So maybe you play this, you get to draw off of the shift, and then you get to draw 2 from Baymax. So there's that. I'm gonna give it a 3. I think a 3 again. It draws a card. It is a little bit more difficult to draw a card with this one, but you still draw a card, and we do see Floodborn coming into blue, so we'll give it a 3. Next up, we have Gringe. Gringe. He's a 2/2/1 ally pirate, 2 cost inkable. Whenever this character quests, you pay 1 less for the next action you play this turn. I cannot remember if I revealed this yesterday, but if I did, I apologize, and hopefully my rating stays the same. But we already see green-purple actions being played by some people. My buddy on the flower farm ran it in I think a 32-person event and took first with green-red actions. So green-red actions is very much a deck. You just have to avoid certain matchups. With that being said, you play this on 2, and then on turn 3, you can play Be King Undisputed, you can play Brawl and another character. So there's things you could do, and they're not bad things. You could play Dragonfire on turn 4 now if you run Dragonfire. And so there's options with this card. Do I think it sees play? Probably not. We're going to give it a 2. It does have good synergy in an action deck, but yeah, we'll give him a 2 for now. And next up we have Kuzco. He is a 1/4/2, 5 cost uninkable, and he is once don't you say a word. Once during your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may return chosen character, item, or location with cost 2 or less to their player's hand, then that player draws a card. It's a 5 cost uninkable, and because of that, I have to give it a 1. Its effect is super cool. I love the effect. I think the effect is really neat. It's a bounce thing, or once during your turn, whenever a card. Okay, so it's just whenever you put it into your inkwell. So it's not even a bounce. No. So if you ink a card, you may return a card, and so you may bounce something, but it's cost 2 or less. I think it's just a 1. It just has it's an uninkable that dies really easily, and yeah, I have to give it a 1. Unfortunate. Unfortunate. Purple, just poor purple. Anyways, moving on from Kuzco, we have the last card for today, and we have Mushu Majestic Dragon. And this is a card that is Ruby Steel, dual ink. It's a 4/4/1, intimidating and awe-inspiring. Whenever one of your character's challenges, you gain resist +2 during that turn, or they gain resist +2, and then Guardian of Lost Souls. During your turn, whenever one of your characters banishes another character in a challenge, gain 2 lore. So this Ruby Steel is coming into fight, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to make a name for itself, and this is one of the cards that's going to help do that. Not only, it just screams challenge everything. It can't be brawled or reduced, so there's that. It's a really good stat line, and yeah, the ability. I mean, imagine playing Thebes and Calhoun and this, and then now Calhoun's gaining you 6 lore. I think Thebes gains you 2, so you gain 6 off of that. Or you play Robin Hood on 1, Calhoun on 2, shift Robin Hood on 3, Thebes on 4, and you move something. This on 5. I mean, sure, like they just, and the fact that they gain resist +2 when they challenge is insane. Like, this is going to find a way into every Ruby Steel challenge deck. I'm gonna what to give it though. It is 100% at least a 4, a minimum of a 4. I'm gonna give it a 5, and that might be just. I mean, it's Mushu. The artwork's phenomenal. No one would be upset if this was the set champs card. I'm gonna give him a 5, and because of his effect is just so good. If you get to turn 5, now Ruby Steel's still suffering from a lot of the same problems. They're getting all this benefit for challenging, but not a lot of card draw. But maybe that's the point. If you play this on turn 5, maybe you're just getting to a point where you're now at 15, 16 lore because of this card, and you don't need a lot of card draw because you're just going to win every time they play something. So, along with Mulan challenging readied characters, like, yeah, we're gonna give this a 5, and I'm gonna be happy and okay with that 5 as well. So really awesome card, great artwork, love to see it, and it's a rare. So moving on, we have our MVP card of the day. For me, the MVP card of the day is Gantu, and a lot of people will probably disagree with this when we see things like Mushu and Pete, but I just think that the amount of disruption that this Gantu does to most decks, like, or most of the current meta tier decks, if it doesn't really matter to things like Ruby Steel that's really showing up, but the amount of disruption that this deck or this card enables, and enables Purple Steel to have, if you go Pete into Gantu, like, that is a crazy strong turn. That is a really, really, really strong couple turns there, because meanwhile you still have Smee down. So if you play Smee on 2, you quest Smee on turn 3 and play Pete, and then you quest Smee again on turn 4 and play Gantu, your Smee's only only taken 1 damage, and that's all he's going to take as well. So I just think that Gantu enables a lot of really annoying things and does a lot for purple steel, and I think that makes him the MVP for today. Um, this it could easily be Mushu, and those were the two cards I played around with, but this is just a really strong card. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed yesterday's reveals. Essentially, I get the day before, so this was yesterday's reveal when you guys are seeing this, and then I release it the morning of, so we can all start our day off with that and look at more reveals. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you check out the giveaway video. Thank Mushu. If you're in the Smyrna, Delaware area, make sure you check out our 1K we're doing. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, like, comment, all that fun stuff. But always, most importantly, stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you around.